Yes, Chair, right? Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you, feel better. Bye-bye.
We're going to call this workshop, budget workshop, to order at this time. I'm going to ask the clerk to give me compliance.
In compliance with the Freedom of Information Act, notice of meetings and agendas were posted and furnished to all news media and persons requesting notification.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Now we will have the Pledge of Allegiance by Mr. Kemp and the invocation by Councilman Atkins.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, we come before you one more time. On another day, what promised us. Father God, we thank you how you watched over us last night, woke us up this morning on due time, you still keep us in our right mind. We thank you for your greatest gift, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And we thank you for your precious blood that runs warm through our veins and keep us from being able to operate. Father God, as we go through this budget, Father God, bless us, Father God, today, Father God, that we can put this to rest, Father God, and move forward, Father God, as
Yes,
time
Lord.
goes by. We ask all the many blessings in your Son Jesus' name. Let everybody say amen.
Amen. I'm going to call for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It has been first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. This is a budget workshop. A couple of the councilmen felt like they needed just a little bit more implication. This is not a stumbling block or a stop. You just need to know. And we're not going to be here all day. We're going to get through this, and we're going back home out of this heat. This time of year, the employees are worn down because they keep getting so many bits and pieces. I need this, I need that, I need that. And actually speaking, you really don't need anything because it's the administrator and the finance director to get a budget that's going to work for the county or any other entity who have people doing budget. So the first part of this is on the Jasper County School District. Dr. Anderson is going to come in case we have any questions or anything. Mr. Fulgham, do you need to say anything before the superintendent comes?
Oh, no, ma'am. Our show is after her.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, I'd certainly like to say thank you so much for allowing us to speak before you and to entertain any questions that you certainly may have. We did put together just a brief PowerPoint presentation for this evening, just to make certain that we touched on as much information as we could, highlighted again, and then we will certainly open the floor at the end of the presentation for any questions. Mr. Zimmerman will at some point join me at the podium when it is time, but I'm going to go through some information currently as is, and again, not to belabor the point, but to again afford you an opportunity to answer or ask any questions that we certainly may answer for you. Before we go any further, I do want to acknowledge that we do have 3 of our board members who are certainly here with us. Our board chair, Priscilla Green, is here We have our secretary, Dr. Tom Ballier, here with us as well, and we have Ms. Priscilla Frazier that is here. We certainly do acknowledge Mayor Williams. It's always great to see him, and we appreciate the consistent support that we do receive from all of you when it relates to, and as it relates to, the Jasper County School Board, our school district as well. Our purpose, we're not going to read to you. I don't read PowerPoints. You certainly can read for yourself if you're just getting this. So I will touch on a few things here just to make sure that everyone, and particularly individuals that may be listening, so that the information is definitely very well understood if there are any misconceptions. Each year, our district completes, as you do, as an entity, the operating budget for the fiscal year. And that's the next fiscal year. That process at our district includes, again, meetings with our schools and district administrators. We like to listen to exactly what their needs are, why they need what they need, and how we can, again, create a budget to address not all of those things, but most of those things, certainly to address students in our classrooms as well. Looking at those multiple data sets is really to make sure that we are speaking to every student in our district, every student in our district. Today, again, we are sharing additional information per your request and to discuss what we need to effectively operate our school district. I will certainly admit that I didn't believe that I would ever be before you asking for more, but we are here. We're at this point, and if we didn't need it, I will be the first to tell you that we wouldn't be here. July 1, I can certainly stand here before you and say that we'll start my 6th year here in Jasper County School District. And in those 5 years, as I have been at the helm, I haven't come to you to request an increase of any sort, but in fact, in our district, we've improved our fund balance every year. We've been able to put back funding to make sure that we not only met the state standards, but we met our district policy as is written. Some fast facts about Jasper County School District. Our enrollment is 2,746, and I will indicate that our enrollment fluctuates. We go up, we go down, we go up, we go down. Kids come, kids go. Hardeeville Elementary is 629 students, Ridgeland Elementary 888, which is our largest elementary school. Hardeeville Junior Senior High School is at 590 students, Ridgeland Secondary Academy of Excellence at 639 students. We currently do operate 2 K-12 campuses, and I can tell you that this was our first year going back to that foundation of operating 2 K-12 campuses, and we have seen improvements. We've heard the positive of reverting back to our community schools, and so we are very pleased to note that we are continuing to move forward as we need to. We do have a new K facility that is on our Ridgeland campus. And this year we had our first completer ceremony, which was certainly very well attended, and it was definitely a beautiful time for our students. We also share a joint CAPE facility with Beaufort, and that is entitled our Beaufort Jasper ACE facility. I'll indicate at this point that we knew that at some point building a new CAPE facility, because we had to add personnel to house that facility and the things that come along with a new facility, it would cost funding to continue to operate, etc. So not only are we operating one CAPE facility on site, we're also still upkeeping, continuing with the one that we share with Beaufort Jasper ACE. That comes with a price tag as well. As a district, we have 326 staff members. 246 of those staff members are certified. 246 of our staff members are certified. Non-certified are 79. I will tell you that with that amount of individuals, yes, the cost continues to climb, and it will continue. I will tell you that we are seeing a more increasing cost because individuals are coming with a much heavier price tag. Why? After COVID, everyone had a sense of taste of what they desired to have or would want to have, etc. And so we find ourselves trying to maneuver to make sure that we can compete with the shortage of individuals that are out there. And currently, we compete with 3 private schools in our area: Thomas Hayward, John Paul's II, and Legacy Christian Academy. I listed those because we also, and we'll get to that part in the PowerPoint, they also receive funds from Jasper County School District as well. And that plays a part into students coming and going, et cetera, and or those individuals who, again, funds follow them to support. We not only have those 3 private schools, but we also now have 3 charter schools that we compete with and contend with. We have Royal Live Oaks, Polaris Tech, and the new Meeting Street. So what factors drive JCSD's budget? We look at 3 things that specifically drive our budget, and we invest our resources as follows. Enrollment and growth, of course. Without the children, it's not a reason for us to really exist, number one. But again, our children do come and go, and I must state that literally we can't cap our schools. We don't get to pick and choose who comes. We don't get to pick and choose who go. But I will tell you that when you're educating children of poverty, it costs more. Why? Because the time and energy that it takes, the resources that are needed, not just human capital, but tangible resources as well, manipulatives, etc. The time that we spend away from home in our schools, before school, after school, during school, etc. Those things come with a price tag. I was charged when I accepted this position with improving this school district. Our very first year in 2018, we moved schools from the bottom of a list to not being on a list. After COVID, our first assessment, we have 2 of our schools who are back on the list of unsatisfactory performance. That's 2 of our elementary schools, Richmond Elementary and Hardyville Elementary. I have viewed our preliminary data. We are making some progress and have made some progress, and we'll be very much so happy to reveal that when those scores are unembargoed. I will state that Hardyville Junior Senior High School has probably had the most growth that we have seen as a school in our district. So I want to commend that staff, not only that staff for the growth, but a part of my charge was to improve Jasper County School District. And I will tell you that it is not an easy job at all. It has not been an easy job. And I don't look forward to it getting any easier as we move forward, because the demand of quality, the demand of excellence, number one, should exist. It does exist, but we hold ourselves accountable for what we know we need to do. What I will say, and I made that point to say, that in order for our district to move forward, not only must we have the funds to make that happen, we also must have the quality of educator in every classroom, indeed, to do that. It is not easy finding a quality individual. And when you find an individual, you are competing with so many other districts because of the shortage of educators that exist. And we're not just talking about teachers. We're also talking about administrators. We're talking about paraprofessionals. We're also talking about bus drivers. We're talking about cafeteria workers. We're also talking about maintenance, etc. But it costs. And not only does it cost to hire those individuals, we also struggle with the fact that housing is an issue when those individuals get here. So what we have to do, and what we have done, is that we have put some measures in place with our ESSER funds to counteract some of the challenges that we have certainly encountered to get those individuals here, because most of them either commute from their home-based area or they live in Savannah and drive in daily. Again, we look at enrollment and our enrollment growth, what we anticipate what our growing needs are. If you have not looked around, and those of you who attended graduation ceremonies, any ceremony that we had in Hardyville or in Richland, etc., you will note that our population is no longer African American. Our population now literally is Hispanic and African American. In fact, our Hispanic population is not only growing, it is almost exceeding our African American population. And not only are they exceeding in number, but they are exceeding in academic performance as well. And so we have in our district an area where not only do we have to adjust what our needs are, we're having to adjust how we look at what we provide and offer, not only to our students, but to our parents, because our needs have drastically changed from when I arrived in 2018 until where we are 5 years later, now 6 years later. And that's not just in our schools, that's also a part of our community. The other factor that we look at is strong academic programs to improve teaching and learning, again, such as our human capital, learning, accountability, and results. I've touched on that, and any community partnerships. Those things are very much so important to us as we look to move our district forward. Where does the money come from? We have 3 areas that we receive funding from. One is our local tax revenue and any other county dollars that we do receive. And of course, we will go over this in a more detailed way with you momentarily. We have state funds that come in, and I've listed the major areas of those state funded areas through the state education bill that are teacher salaries, retirees insurance, the Tier 3 homestead exemption, our Title I funding, our Tier 1 funding, excuse me, education funding, which is the GF, and our education funding, which is our EIA. Those are our major areas of funding that comes via the state, okay? And we have our federal funds. These are our Title I funds, which of course you know will be depleted very soon, and IDEA, okay? All of those funds from the federal, while it may seem like a lot in number, they're earmarked. There ain't anything we can do with that but what they are earmarked for. And so the interesting part about that, someone will say, well, why don't you use that to pay for this? At some point it becomes what the state calls supplanting, because there's a certain amount that we must have in our general fund that we fund, okay, which is what we get from local taxes, okay, and there's a part that we must also put in federal. But you don't know what you're getting from federal every year, simply because of the fact that that depends on the amount of students that you certainly have. So it fluctuates up and down. We also have funds that go out again to our private schools, and you'll see exactly what that amount is as well. And that is called equitable services, okay, that we have to answer to via the state, okay? So Jasper County School District receives funding from those 3 areas, no other area. Someone will say, Dr. Anderson, you used to receive rental fees. That's true. We have not rented our facilities out to anyone because it costs money, number one, for the upkeep. That's another maintenance part of it, okay? And then the cost of what it will take for that rental portion, many people don't want to pay. And so, yes, you can rent your facilities out, but we also experienced where at that point, there were issues that we had to encounter that were not funded. That was an example that I gave. Not saying that that has been an issue. I gave an example. I want to clarify that for the record. What does the fiscal 23-24 budget include? And I'm going to read these one by one for the record and for anyone who is listening, so that it is very clear what our budget includes. May the 15th, we were before you as a council. We gave you a budget workbook that was 47 pages. It had the different departments, and each of the departments in that workbook had a page where it was a front page and a second page. And it talked to you about exactly what that budget was for each department, okay? And so again, you have that. Didn't give you a copy of that on this evening because you already had that copy, but I am going to speak about that particular workbook in this as well. We included step increases for certified staff per the Senate version, okay, at the Senate level of $2,500. That means at every level on the pay scale, we increased it $2,500, okay, for every level for every teacher, $2,500, okay, certified staff. 18.1% increase in benefits was the employee share, which means we don't control that. That was something that we know we had to have an increase in benefits. We made that adjustment, and that's where we are as far as the increase is concerned. We had a 1% increase in retirement for the employer share. There was 25% that the state has said that we need to increase the bus driver's pay scale. Keeping in mind, Jasper County the previous year had already increased their bus driver salary scale. So now we're being asked to increase again. Not sure whether we're going to have to increase, but we're preparing ourselves for that since we did the previous increase, okay? There's a 3% cost of living increase for classified staff and administration. At this point, again, that is all the classified staff members are receiving. And I will admit that I do believe that we need to look at our classified salary scale, but we're not in a position financially to do that this year because they are not making enough to literally live and take care of a family on what they're bringing home. They aren't, okay? So at some point, this district will have to address that as well because it's not even at a point that if they had a large family, they could fend the right way. So many of them are doing what? Working multiple jobs. They are, just to make ends meet. Okay. Additional funding for the athletic programs in our budget. Why is it there? Because last year we had middle school sports in Hardyville. Okay, we did not have JV sports. So this year, based on what we submitted as our phase-in plan, we're adding JV sports for the upcoming year to Hardyville. The following year is a reclassification year for, they do it every 2 years with the South Carolina High School League. And so then we will then see where we're classified because right now our high school is 2A. Okay, the classification year had ended. We could not go back to the commissioner, and I spoke to Commissioner Singleton to make sure that no, we're not going to do the realignment over just for Jasper, one district. Okay, so we kept what we had, 2A. Okay, we will probably go down to 1A at each level. Okay, but again, that's not for me to decide because I'm not here for that. But I am saying that for the record that we are adding JV sports, and then the following year, which would be 24-25. We would then be adding varsity sports because that would be the realignment year for the South Carolina High School League, okay? Additional funding has been added for technology, maintenance, and their alternative school. Why technology? For those of you who are not aware, we are a one-to-one district, which means every child has a device, okay? At one point, we were asking our parents to pay the technology fee of $30 or $35, okay? That was a very tedious task. Some paid it, some couldn't afford to pay it, okay? But yet we could have a household that has 5 students in it and the district is giving 5 computers. Again, I will say that we did have funding that was afforded to us not only from Mayor Williams, but from Councilman Spizzo's family and a fund to cover that as well, okay? And so again, that still wasn't enough to, again, afford computers to over 2,700 students. Now, someone would say, well, Dr. Anderson, you buy them and hey, you give them to them and you should see how they come back to us. You should see the amount of replacement costs, and $35 does not recover what it takes to really fix a computer, replace the keys, replace the cord on a computer. Someone said you can't lose a card. I can tell you how many we have lost and how much they cost. So it's an incurred expense that continues to revolve. Maintenance. If you clean your house, and I know if you go into Walmart, Sam's, or wherever you go, supplies have gone up. Everything has gone up. The district has not been spared. It has gone up for us as well. The cost of fuel to run our buses have gone up, literally. And those are the things that make up when we say maintenance, etc. To clean our schools, again, the proper way, it costs to do so. Alternative school has adjusted. Right now, currently, we are housed at our district office. We literally are going to be demolishing that building, JCAB, that you see standing there. And there on that site will be a mobile unit. Okay, a very large unit. We're going to use the existing water lines that are already there via the county, and we will link into those, etc. But even to place that there temporarily, it costs us to do that so that our students can certainly have a place that is not on the district site, because if you know anything about the district office, that is also a capital need for our district that we are not able to do right now, but we are going to have to do something to address the need for that particular building. And I want to say to the council, we're not complaining. You've gifted that property to us. we will continue to take care of that property, but we also want to make that property, again, conducive to the health for us that are inhabiting that building, but number one, making it ADA compliant, okay? The other part of that is the additional funding that we've added to food service over to cover the district's fringe portion. Yes, USDA, we do receive that for our cafeteria, but also with that, the district is still responsible for paying their portion of the fringe benefits for staff members. When you're looking at that full budget that, again, I gave you, or we have received a copy on May the 15th, you will note that we had an increase. Beaufort Jasper Ace, we still can have a portion of that. There's a contract, an agreement that we have with Beaufort Jasper Ace. They have an increase to the budget just to operate their program. They went into the fund balance previous years to balance their budget. When you keep doing that and don't put anything back into your savings, what happens? It depletes itself. So you can't live off of the fund balance consistently. The fund balance is meant to be one-time occurrences for emergencies. It is not meant to continue to use, because if you don't put money back into something and you're taking it out, there will be nothing when you need to go back to it, okay? So we ended up having a request from Beaufort Jasper Ace in their budget to increase their operating program. And our cost is what you see there, $84,017, okay? That was not a cost we were anticipating, okay? But that's a major cost for us when we're looking at, again, all the other increases that we are experiencing as a district. Finance, we had to increase the cost there for software contractor costs, okay? For the software needed to operate effectively, okay? There are many things that are running through finance, and so it takes software to make that happen. Human resources, okay? We talked about needing teachers and a shortage of teachers. And someone will say, Dr. Anderson, you're spending a lot of money on recruitment. Yes, there is no other way to do it. I could have ran an ad in the paper, and we have. I could have held a fair, a job fair. We have. We've gone to several in-state, and we've gone to several out-of-state, and we've traveled internationally. When I say we, I'm speaking of inclusive of human resources, teachers, and administrators. Dr. Anderson didn't go anywhere. I want to set the record straight. However, I do support it because we did not get teachers, a need for teachers, an influx of teachers in state to fill our classrooms. So on one hand, board is saying, Dr. Anderson, we want classrooms with teachers in them. Okay, no problem. But we can't get something for nothing. So what did we do? We devised a plan. We went out and we sought teachers. That meant we went other places. They're called international teachers, okay? And literally, guess what? That's what not just Jasper is doing. That is what most districts are doing because that is where the influx is. So you will see we have Indian teachers. You will see we have Jamaican teachers. They come with the cost because they are international. So we have to pay for the visa fees, etc. And we also have to pay the attorney fees for an international piece. You can't use your district attorney for that. Okay, there are specific requirements that the embassy requires of us. And so we've met that. That comes with a price tag. It does. But either we want teachers in classrooms of quality, or we want to say, hey, don't do it, and we take what we can get. I chose the latter of that. I'm going to do what's best for kids. And my grandmama always said, Rochelle, you're going to pay it now or pay it later. That's the same for us. We're going to pay it today or now for children, or we're going to pay it later for our children. At any cost, to move Jasper forward where we need to move Jasper, we're going to have to give up something to get it. We are. The human resource piece also had a workman's comp fee. If you were to follow our budget, and I implore you to do so, get online, look at it. When I first arrived here in 2018, workman's comp fees were all, everybody was getting somebody was getting hurt every day. Workman comp fees, atrocious. Same thing with unemployment benefits. Look online now, we've cut that down tremendously. Same thing with attorney fees. When I first arrived here, atrocious amount being wasted in attorney fees. Now, we've had an influx recently, but we're going to have to get a handle on it because it's money that is coming out of the fund balance that should be in classrooms, but yet we're giving it to entities that we don't need to. That's a part of an adult issue that we have to work on as leaders in our district. So I have to make sure schools are safe, that hallways are clear, that people understand exactly. You don't stand on chairs. You use a footstool, okay? You don't sit on the corner of a desk. You use a chair, okay? You put a wet floor sign out if the floor is wet, okay? If there's an electrical issue, you fix it. You don't patch it, okay? These are the things that we've encountered. But I want to put a caveat there because what most people don't know, our schools are fairly new. But the amount of money that we are spending for upkeep in our schools is really not where we should be. It's not where we should be. And if you were to walk right now, we're going to get to it in a little bit, there is a cost that we are addressing roof replacement and wall repairs because of water intrusion. We shouldn't be there with the newness of our facilities, but we're there. We're there. So all of these are things that are unplanned costs, but guess what they are? They're costs that we can't just overlook. We have to address it. You can flip to the next page. What else is included in the maintenance budget? I talked about this is a new contract year for the RFP. We have contractor services, SSC is our maintenance contract, okay? They employ individuals. They come in and literally when we were in a time of need in Jasper County with our schools and where our schools were, we had GCA initially when I arrived. We sent out another RFP and we ended up with the individuals that we have SSC now, okay? Someone will sit down and answer, they're not doing a great job. Let me say this, we can only hire what we have and who applies. It's real simple. Okay, what means clean to Dr. Anderson may not mean clean to somebody else. So we have to help train people on that to make sure that they understand what the standard of excellence and quality really is. Public information, publicity needs, okay? Just to even do our budget portion, we had to run ads in the paper. We ran it 3 times, okay, for the announcements to go out to meet the expectation via the state and via our district's policy. We did that, but the cost of that has gone up as well. The superintendent had an increase, not for anything that I've asked for. However, in the state's plan, there was a fund that superintendents received called Aid to District, okay? That was for any miscellaneous needs that you may have had. What did I do during the COVID year with Aid to District? I paid for a drive-through ceremony for graduates, okay? Very costly. That could be a child needing clothing. We're gonna run out and get that. Any receipt you need to see, I don't run out and get it myself. Ms. Wright does that, but it's in finance. You pull anything you need to see with what we spend on any given day. Technology, we increase technology again for the cost of upgrades, laptop devices, and again, we are not charging a tech fee this year for our families. Does the district receive federal funds? Yes. I've listed what those federal funds are there. I am not going to read all of that to you, but we do receive Title I, Part A. Again, Title I, Title II, we receive that as well. You'll indicate what Title II there is. Again, for professional learning for educators. That's how we pay for PD, okay? Title IV, all right? That is our academic enrichment program, after schools, etc., and all of those things. We have Title III. That is our homestead portion for our English language learners, etc., for our immigrant children. Okay, so our English language proficiency. And we have IDEA, which is our Individual with Disabilities Education Act, again, to make sure that our students with disabilities are receiving the same amount of services. Does the district receive, again, continuing to the next point, those funds? We do. How much? I've listed the amounts there for you so that you can see the amounts. That looks great. That looks wonderful. The ones that's in parentheses is what we receive as well as the top portion. However, you'll see the allocation below that to our private schools. You'll see that John Paul receives Title II and Title IV. You'll see the amounts. Thomas Hayward receives Title I and Title II. You see those amounts. And Legacy Christian Academy receives Title I funds. You see that amount. Okay? And so again, Jasper School District doesn't get any other funds, but we do farm out what we have to under the equitable portion of what we have to do as a district. And we do that, and we continue to meet that expectation. But again, these are funds that are earmarked. So what factors impact JCSD's budget? And Dr. Anderson, why are you before us asking us for more? I'm before you because this is a factor. We again have an increase in our Hispanic population. It has required us to pivot and to adjust. I took French in college. They don't speak French. How about that? Okay? I should have taken Spanish. I did not. So typically what Dr. Anderson does is walk through with the app on her phone to communicate for those that cannot. Okay? You will see that in our schools, when you walk in, we try to make sure we have someone who is bilingual there. We are affording parent liaisons who are also bilingual. We also have Mrs. Nolte in my office who is bilingual, and we have someone who sits at our front desk at in the main office who is bilingual, because we are trying to make sure we can communicate and effectively make sure that we are welcoming the change that's taking place in our district. So we have adjusted our needs to fit our current population. Charter schools, we accept all students, as I said earlier. We can't cap, okay? We don't cap, and we don't deny anyone. Anyway, if you come in with an ankle monitor, guess what? We notify individuals that you're coming because the state doesn't give us the right to say you can't come. But I can promise you some of my children, and I'm not downing anyone because I respect everyone's choice for whatever they need to do, and I respect the choice of charter schools in this community, etc. But at the same time, facts are facts. I cannot deny a child from coming to the school. Currently, right now, for an example, Ridgeland Elementary Child Development 4K is capped. 3 classes are already filled. We have a waiting list. So now we are scrambling trying to figure out, do we add another class? And if we do, can we find a teacher? Or do we have kids sitting out who still can't get in? Okay, these are the things that we have to continue to grapple with, and again, be able to start school. And hey, let's think that, do we have what we need to make it happen? Inflation. I don't care what we say. I talked about fuel costs, the labor, food, materials and supplies. Construction labor has major increase. Safety. I never thought that I would be trying to figure out with Chief Woodard and Sheriff Hip how we can safeguard our schools. But that's an added expense that we did not think about as we are building things. Because why? Because our world, our society that we live in has forced us to make some changes to make sure students are safe. I promise you that Jasper doesn't give any weapons out. But we do our best to make sure that our staff members and our students are safe every day that they arrive on our campus. ESSER. ESSER funds, guys, are great. And honestly, I don't know how we would have made it had we not had them with the changes that we experienced. But they deplete in September of 2024. What does that mean for this district? It means that those staff members who are here, who are traveling, we give mileage reimbursement to them throughout the year. They said, if they travel a certain amount of miles, we reimburse them because that's a hardship. But we need them. We need them. Our children need them. Okay? We also do a retention stipend. It is, hey, if you come back, because we're competing with so many other people, if you come back, guess what we'll do? We give you a retention stipend. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for signing your contract. Attendance stipends. We need you to show up to work. And somebody might say, you shouldn't have to pay that. Well, welcome to the children that we have employed today. Because guess what? If you haven't gone to Walmart and seen a shortage, even my bank, there's a shortage of help. Okay? The hospital, and I sit on the board of the hospital here, and literally, there's a shortage. So yes, we try to say, hey, We can't improve instruction and kids can't learn if you're not here. So we afford you a attendance stipend. And then for those students or those teachers who are in those tested grades, because trust me, nobody wants to be in a tested grade. Why? Particularly in a district that is underperforming, because it is difficult to move children and have your name attached to that. Okay? Because everybody sees it across the state. All right? So, no, I don't want to teach an ELC course. Well, that's what you're teaching. That's what you're going to teach. Okay? And so, we give a stipend for that. Okay? That's tied in ESSER. I don't know what we're going to do when ESSER dries up. Because I promise you, those same staff members will be asking for, am I getting a stipend? And if there's a district that's giving it and we're not, guess where they're going? To that district. So we have to get ourselves ready to figure out how we're going to handle that. Okay? I included an article. I'm not going to read it to you, but I think it is worth your time when you get a chance to look at it. And it is entitled, Here's Why Some States Are Facing a Steeper ESSER Funding Cliff in 2024. And it talks about those districts who are affluent, but it also talks about those districts that are non-affluent. Okay, your rural school districts like we are. Okay, we're going to feel this. Okay? We're going to feel it. And remember, everyone said, oh, they want more money. Give them more money. Give them more money. And we kept moving up these scales. Great. But where is it continuing to come from when it dries up? And September 2024 will be the time that not just Jasper will face it, but many of us will. So that article is in there. Please, I encourage you to read it. I do a lot of reading because it keeps your mind great and rich. But it also informs you of some things that you need to be aware of. Costs for the international teachers, I talked about that. And then, guys, we lost the penny sales tax. That was a hurt. Some people say, oh, I don't want to pay tax. But I do want to give a shout out to the Sun City community. Because I had an opportunity to go before them. And literally, Sun City supported the penny. And I want to say publicly to them, thank you. And to everyone else who supported it, because it spoke volumes that they heard the need. But it also spoke volumes that they understood the impact of what and how valuable it is for public education to exist, number one, but also for it to be a quality place where young people can learn. The other part of that is I had the chance to read an article that was in the Post and Courier. And it's entitled, Large Jasper County Parcel Sells for $16 million to Charleston Real Estate Investor. And this is in the June 9th paper. You have that as well. And it talks about, at the very end of that article, it talks about that the U.S. Census, literally, has said that the data identifies the county adjacent to Beaufort County and Chatham County, Georgia, as the fastest growing county in the state from 2020 to 2023. Its population is now at 32,000, which grew by 10% over a 3-year period. It is no doubt that we see the growth that's happening the south of us. We see it. We know it's happening. We have to be ready for that when it happens as well. Because if we don't change the trajectory of what our schools and how our schools are performing, we will continue to compete with charter schools and private schools because choice does exist and people do have a right to make sure that their children are receiving a quality education. Our budget timeline. What did you do, Dr. Anderson? First, April the 24th, we met with our JCSD board. We had a budget workshop. We answered any questions that they had, etc. And we ensured that they were able to receive the information that they needed. And if someone called needing more, we gave it to them. May 15th, we came before you. And we presented our presentation. May 24th, 28th, and the 31st, we put the ad in our local published paper for our last budget reading, which is our second one with our public hearing. Okay? May 30th, we did our first budget reading. May 31st, we did June the 2nd, which was the individual board meeting. So May 31st through June 2nd, 3 days we set aside for board members, individual board members, to come and meet with board members, or to come and meet actually with Mr. Zimmerman to have their questions answered. And in your packet, you have a copy of those frequently asked questions that, for those board members that did come, for those that did show up, these were the questions that we received during that time, and you will see the answers there to that document. What we do is we publish with our third reading these questions. We did it last year, we'll do it again this year, so that the public has a copy of the questions that were asked of us from those individuals who did, again, attend those meetings. Now, your question now becomes, Dr. Anderson, what in the world do you need with what you're asking for? And you have in front of you 2 sheets. You have one that's color-coded with yellow and green. Mr. Zimmerman is going to come and talk to you about that. And then you also have one that has the general fund balance for the year. And you'll see everything. You'll see our uncommitted fund balance, and you will see our total projections and other capital projects. Mr. Zimmerman is going to come and talk to you about those things so that you know exactly what we're dealing with. But before he comes, I want to touch on the slide that's currently there right now. And it says, Dr. Anderson, well, what happens? What are you going to do if on June 20th this council says no to you, to what you're asking? I've listed there 6 things to you that how it will affect us. First one is we will probably have to look at a possible reduction in force. We can't pay what we don't have. It's real simple. We just don't have it. And as I said earlier, I'm the first to say to you, I would not waste your time or mine, and nor will I come to you for something that I don't need. And honestly, I need it. Because the most difficult thing is to be asking and truly not to know what the end result will be as you're trying to plan forward. The depletion of the fund balance. Because if we don't get it, we will have to go into the fund balance. But that's going to be an issue because we will deplete it with what we have currently on the table, and we will not meet our state guidelines of what must be there. And we will not meet the board policy requirements. Staff members will not receive a cost of living increase, classified or administration, because we can't afford it. The inability to effectively offer athletics on the Hardyville campus. You just can't add things with extra when you don't have. But that makes children suffer. The inability to continue to offer those one-to-one devices to our students. Not some, but all. And then the individual ability to address any emergencies for unknown happenings. After Mr. Zimmerman, we will certainly come back to you, and then I will close and take any questions that you may have. He's going to come and go through these 2 sheets here. Go ahead, Mr. Kemp.
I just have a few questions, and it's just maybe this will affect what he says. What are, and I apologize, what are ESSER funds?
ESSER?
Right, the ESSER funds.
What are they?
Yeah.
When you say what are they, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, you say you're getting the ESSER funds and they're going to run out. What are they? Where do they come from? What do they do?
Oh, well, so ESSER was definitely provided to us during the time by the government, the federal government, in regards to what we were dealing with via COVID. Okay, and so schools were shut down. These were funds to help individuals address, number one, there were 3 pots of money. The first, ESSER 1, ESSER 2, ESSER 3. All of our plans are posted on our website because that's a requirement by the state, and it tells you in each of those categories what you could spend those funds on. For example, ESSER 1 was to address any issues that you had throughout your school district that possibly had poor quality of air. That was an area that you could address. So there were funds to help counteract buildings that may have been aged, number one, and or the need that you had to, again, guard staff and students back from contracting a virus, etc., cleaning supplies, etc., that you needed, the materials that we needed to certainly put on masks, etc., all of those things. So it afforded us an opportunity to address areas of deficiency that could improve the quality of air circulating in our schools. You could have replaced vents, etc. You could have replaced HVAC units, okay? There were specific guidelines that could certainly be used. And so that was the purpose of them. So they deplete.
So you use the extra funds to help teachers with their mileage?
No, so yes, so ESSER 3 you could use for teacher quality, yes.
How does that, let's say Hampton, I guess people are talking from Hampton.
Mm-hmm.
Does Hampton have those funds also?
Yes, every South Carolina district received, yes.
So they would be doing the same thing?
They could.
Okay.
They could. You can certainly get online, Mr. Kemp, and look at any district's website. It is a state requirement, federal government requirement that we post all of our plans. And we submit our plans to the state for approval.
I just was,
Yeah, so, right, so you can look, you can certainly look, and I will tell you that, I can promise you that they're definitely doing a retention one. They certainly are. Because we're in competition, because we have people who are saying, oh, Allendale is paying $10,000. I said, we can't pay it. We can't. So if you want to go to Allendale, you go to Allendale, but we can't, this is what we can pay. And so yes, I can promise you, I can tell you what Orangeburg is doing, because how do I know? Because superintendents sit and talk, because that's the only way that we are able to get through some of it. And a lot of it is just trying to stay mentally sane while you're trying to compete with so many other things that are out there. Greenville received funds, and you know as well as I know, and I'm not knocking my superintendent colleague, but God knows, Bert Roster, I can promise you could stand and lend us some of his money, because they're so rich in taxes. But again, yes, he gets them, and he can certainly do within the guidelines what he needs to, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything, Mr. Kim? I want to make sure I answer, because that's our purpose of being here. And I don't want to rush you.
And I'm just trying to clarify.
Yes,
understand.
please do.
With the Title IIs, Title IVs, that's governmental, tells you what to do.
Yes, any federal program, any title funds are already earmarked. You have to submit a plan.
So it's not your decision, it's the government's decision.
It's my decision within their guidelines to make whatever funds they have for me work within those guidelines. And if they kick it back, we revise it. Literally. We revise it. And they have to match our strategic school renewal, our district strategic renewal plan and our school renewal plan. So right now, I have an email today. Dr. Anderson, you're gonna revise your strategic district plan and your schools plan. You know, right now, two of our schools, two of our elementary schools, they're called CSI schools, okay? They have plans as well that they have to submit. They are sent before the state, they send them back to us, and you either revise them or you don't spend the funds. So it's within those guidelines.
Thank you.
Any additional questions before Mr. Zimmerman comes to look at those two sheets with you? Okay? Mr. Zimmerman. You have your sheets with you, okay?
Good evening, good afternoon.
You got it, okay.
Tough act to follow. Dr. Anderson has laid out all the reasons why we need to discuss the numbers here and why we're asking for the millage increase. And if you look at the sheet with the green and yellow columns on it, and we're addressing the information in the green column. Okay. Basically what we're asking for there, we're asking for a 26.5 mil increase, which will then generate $27,857,638. The fee in lieu of taxes is $900,000, the district part of that. And then you have below that the funds that are coming from the state.
And Mr. Zimmerman, before you kind of carry on, I want you to make sure you make the point with Dominion Energy.
Okay.
There, because you can
That's
see
the
where that funding has decreased.
Right. Okay, the fee in lieu of taxes, which is what Dominion is, the county gets about $1.9 million of that, and the district gets a portion of it. The district portion of that is $900,000. When you initially started the budget, when we did the, between the first and second reading, I think it was, the amount was like $1 million, but it's 900,000. So therefore, that's why you see down at the bottom of that column that the budget has a $100,000 deficit, and it's because of the difference in that from one reading to the next, the information we received on the fee in lieu of taxes. Again, then the next section down there, those are the funds that come from the state. As you know, the state is they're getting closer to voting on the education bill and having it in place, and hopefully the governor will sign off on it and everything will be intact. So I think they go back in session on Wednesday to talk about that. But what we use there, we use the projections based on the Senate bill to create those numbers, because that's what they sent to us. Then below that, we have some things there that transfer in and transfer in revenues, which gives us a total of $45,404,316. And that's $100,000 less than what the total revenue is for projected revenue for the year. Now, that's with the 26.5 mil. And we got it in green because that's gold. We got the yellow column there, which is caution, that if we don't get, here's what we're going to be looking at, which means that you would have a budget deficit of $1.9 million. And Dr. Anderson has laid out what that could cause. Are there any questions? On the next sheet, we listed out where we are now at the end of June of 2022, our last fiscal audit. That's on another page. Other
That's the capital one?
Yes,
The
ma'am.
fund balance?
That one, yeah. At the end of the audit, on June of 22, the fund balance was at $21,304,554. Of that, we have projects that we have already initiated. We have a wall and roof repair on both campuses that was caused by water damage. Initially, we thought it was going to be around about $6 or $7 million. But when the bids came in, it was totaling $10 million. The things have gone up in that short period of time. Also, over at the Hardyville campus, we have a storm drain project that's going on. That's roughly $3 million. We had food service upgrades to the equipment, which was $150,000. Band instrument replacement at the two different campuses now was roughly $300,000. The board requires that we set aside 10% of the budget. That's more than what the state requires, but that's what the board requires. So that leaves you roughly around $3 million. But then we have other capital projects. Hot water heaters and water fountains. Who would think that hot water heaters and water fountains would cost that much? And initially, we had some money set aside. We have money set aside in the ESSA funds that we talked about earlier. But those projects came in $500,000 more than what we thought. So then we got the JCAP demo. That's to tear down that building there. That's an eyesore that if I don't get it down before December, y'all might not be looking at me. Because Dr. Anderson said that building got to go. Then we also have the modular unit that she talked about that we're going to temporarily house the students in. Well, because of the area that we're in, prone to hurricanes and things of that nature, you have to make sure that your building meets a certain seismic category. And for this area, I think it's seismic D. The windows and all, everything has to meet that. So you can put it there. So it's a rather hefty cost for the building. But when you also put that building down there, OSF makes you have to make it just as safe as a regular school. So you got to have data, you got to have phones, you got to have fire systems and everything else in there. Also, as we were updating the doors at the school campus, making things more secure, we found we had some doors that wouldn't take the magnetic lock system. So we had to replace doors throughout the school. We had curb repair because the two different land sides, one owner land is higher than our land, so the water runs down off of theirs and washes out our curb and causes the road to cave in. So we got to put in some new curbing there, things like that. AC units are going out. The the whole unit, but just parts of it. We have to make repairs there. So we allotted money for that. The district office renovation, which, you know, I sound kind of congested now. Since I came down here, I've had 2 upper respiratory infections. You know, because I have asthma, it comes from the air quality. That's projected at about $4 million. Also, we have items that we have to complete from the first penny tax, which is the athletic complex that's going to go over at the Ridgeland campus, which is projected at about $4 million. Also, another thing we have there is that the BJA Center, they have a need to have a major capital improvements made out there. And because we're in a 50-50 split with Beaufort School District, that project is going to cost about $20 million. So that would cost us about $10 million if they had, once they decide, or if they're going to do that, Jasper County would have to kick in $10 million to make that work. And last year we paid down our debt services by about $4.9 million, and we probably do about the same thing again this year. So that gives you a total of $28 million of items that in the future that we'll have to look at or have to address in some form or fashion. Some of them we're going to have to address automatically, but others may take some time because we don't know about the BJA situation. So there we have it. With what we are, and you know, we look at it and say, yes, fund balance looks good, but then when you look at all the things that are on the table that we have to do, it requires a need for us to do that. And one of the things we don't want to do is be like some other districts who put these big offers out here for people to come work for them, and now they're finding out that, yeah, we can't do that. You know, we offered you $5,000 to come work for us. And people jump ship and leave. And then now you find out that, well, it's not really there. We want to make sure whatever we offer people, we can back it up. So therefore you see a lot of things that we talked about is the reason why we're asking for that millage increase. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon.
I think that's, those are mine, okay. Hold on, I have mine. Okay, no questions for Mr. Zimmerman there. I do want to clarify on that next slide, what is the authority of the JCSC board to have a request of a millage increase. I certainly cited there for you the section for you to reference what the local governing body certainly can do with the millage rate increase. I do want to be clear that we are asking for our debt service mills are at 25 mills, okay? Our debt service are at 25 mills. They are remaining at 25. So we're not asking for our debt service mills to increase, and we are still remaining at 25. That is what our homeowners pay, but we are looking at operating mills of increasing, and that would be businesses. I do want to thank our county administrator for certainly making sure that we clarified that.
One other clarification for a second. Homeowners, non-resident homeowners also would pay that.
And non-resident homeowners. Okay. Mr. Kemp, looks like you have
I do have questions.
Looks like you are contemplating something over there.
Well, and this, first of all, when you did your authority, right, it says general operating purposes, which means that's not capital expense. So you can't, I don't know if you know, I get this stuff within an hour and then I have these questions. It says general operating expense, but then you're starting to say all these capital projects. What does that have to do with the 2013 mill? Or the increase in the millage, the computation?
Well, it has everything to do with it. I mean, we have to fund it.
I understand you have to fund it. I understand. But when you went into it, when you gave us the authority, it says a local governing body may increase the millage rate proposed for general operating purposes. That's all I'm saying. That's not a general, the capital projects are not general operating. It means, at least the way I say it's for salaries and all that. Now, I've learned very quickly in governments, things are different. Is capital expense the same as general operating? Is that part of general operating expense? And all I'm just saying.
Yeah, it for us, it's a part of what we are, that's how we're generally operating. In order for us to even inhabit our schools, we have to be able to operate with the need, and that includes capital expenses.
Well, yeah, and there's a separation, and that's all I'm saying. I'll look at that myself. And some of this, like you said that you had the 10% required fund balance. You said that was more than what required. What is required?
I'm sorry, you said the debt, what now?
The 10% required
In the fund balance?
You said was 10%, and then you said that was more than what you are required to have.
Right, the state requires about three months. That's right, 3 months of operating expenses,
Okay,
which is
what
about
would that-
7.
What would that be as if you went down to that?
Off the top of my head, that figure would, I think it's like.
I'm not gonna hold you, how much less is it?
It's about 3%, almost 2.5% less than what the board requires. So it's about 7.68, somewhere around, I can't remember the exact number.
So the board has made a determination that that's the 10%.
Right.
Right, and I think it's a wise determination, to be quite honest. I'll be very honest with you, because with the issues that we are experiencing right now with our schools, etc., and even though they have not aged to a point where they should be having the need that they have currently right now, and just to 90% of our budget is salaries.
Please don't get me wrong, I'm only asking these questions because these are the questions that people ask me.
And I'm not, I don't think that I'm getting you wrong. I don't want you to, Mr. Kemp, take it to a point that I'm not wanting to answer. I want you to answer the question, because I want those constituents that are asking you those questions to truly understand what we are asking, because that will certainly curtail some of the rumor mill and the myths and the incorrect information that's out there. So I commend you in asking those questions. I just want to make sure we're giving you the correct answer for your question. Right. And we're doing that off the cuff. We said you got this report in an hour to ask questions. You did. You got it within the hour. Diana couldn't work any harder to get it to you, honestly. Everything else that we certainly had going on. But I do want to indicate and state that in regard to our need of where we certainly are, we literally have a need to make sure that individuals understand that the upkeep of schools is still a part of what and how we operate, because without it, we can't have kids in buildings that are not standard.
And I find it kind of,
Okay.
and this is just a general comment, I find it odd myself that I looked at the referendum. And
You looked at the what, I'm sorry?
The referendum that you had.
Yes,
The people that don't have kids in school passed it.
Yes.
The kids in school that are in school didn't pass it. I mean, and we as a council have to make sure the majority of people didn't pass it. I mean, but the people that should be more concerned than, I would think just the opposite.
Right, and Mr. Kemp, I think that's a fair statement, which is why I thank you very early on, because you are correct. And I think a lot of that comes with a lack of knowledge. I'm not saying that, people don't understand it, and I don't want to bring up and air dirty laundry, so to speak, but we all live in this community. I live here as well. And at one point for a whole year, we were under attack. And it wasn't by the people who have children or don't have kids in the community or in the schools. Some of it was the people who were certainly in the schools, etc. And so I do get what you're saying, and I certainly commend you for having, the stamina and the guts to say that. Because again, it's a lack of knowledge that our people perish. And it's our job to make sure that we educate them with all our due might, that they understand what they're saying no to. I can promise you that if I go out right now and ask those same people to vote for something that has to do with athletics, it passed.
Well, I have other questions, but I think I can just do that myself. It's just, to me, I don't.
Yeah, one of the things, Mr. Kent, the general accounting office, their percentage is like 17% that you need to have. You know, so the board at 10% and the state at 8 point something, the general accounting, they recommend themselves 17%. So that has a set aside.
Well, again, I'm going to just say, the majority of people didn't. When you talk, and the reason I asked about capital is they didn't pass the referendum because of they said it was for capital, not for general operation. So here we are saying, okay, we're doing an end around, it looks like, and I just want to make sure we're understanding that. It's an end around. You know, they just said no, and then all of a sudden you're coming here with a 26 mil increase, 26.5 to be exact, and that's what we have to look at. And then the pressure comes on us as a body here. And I want to be very clear on what we're doing here, so when people come to me, I can either say, well, that's the way, that's what it was there for, and this is it. Not just, I don't know, that's what they came and that's it. Not that way.
And I don't want you to say that, Mr. Kemp. In fact, I want you to go a step further and say, if we're going to have a county and a community that moves forward with quality, where young people can leave the public school system and acquire a job that they can live comfortable with in this county and not have to leave and go elsewhere, and that they can stand just like I'm standing and publicly speak to you with assurity and confidence and communicate with others and go out and get and acquire what they need, they must have a quality education. And in order to get that, the school system must be able to operate. So we're not just looking at capital needs, we're looking at operating expenses of quality and of excellence. We're looking at preventative maintenance of schools that didn't happen. No longer can we afford to continue to graduate young people who are non-performing just to check off the box and say they have a diploma. So please let constituents also know we are standing before you, not because it's a good feeling to us either, because trust me, we get the pressure as well. The board gets the pressure as well. Okay, as I said, in 5 years I haven't come before you. And if I had my way, I wouldn't be here now. But unfortunately for the children of Jasper County, that's my job. And I am going to make sure that I at least publicly state what has to be stated and what's a need for us. It's not a want, it's not a desire, because there's a lot that I want to do in this county. And I would love for you all to give me some money to get it done. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here for the sake of children. And at the very end of that document was a summary page. And I took a pic, well, I didn't take the picture, someone took a picture. And to the council and to everyone who's watching, these were my babies when I was principal, first in this district at Hardyville. They were little babies running around. And I told my babies that I would be back, but I wasn't coming back as their principal. Didn't know what I'd be back as, but I'm here. And as I said, July 1 will start my 6th year in this district. That in itself is a celebration, because the life of a superintendent in Jasper is not one of 6 years. And now God knows it hadn't been easy. And I could write a book about a lot of it. But what I will say is, those young people there CJ and Cleve. CJ is the one with the little smile. Cleve, you don't even see his face because he and I cried together because no one thought that Cleve would make it. But Cleve is my baby. That Mr. Kemp, if I didn't do what I'm doing now, he'd probably be one that you're paying for a different way. And he wouldn't mind me saying that. So when I stand here before you, I stand with all humility and sincerity. That when Rochelle can't do this job anymore, and I can't fight for what's best for young people in this district to move it forward, I'll tender my resignation and I'll move on. But I still have some fight in me. And my fight are for these young people to make sure that the same quality education that I received at West Florence High School, at Cobra College, at Winthrop University, and at Gardner Webb, that if my babies want to go anywhere, they can choose where they want to go. And that's my job, to make sure that life after high school is not all that they seek. And I commend you and I thank you for, number one, your support, your questions, your understanding, and your candor, because it does matter. I've never run away from a fight or difficult questions, and I never will. And anytime you need me to come back, I vowed to this council when I first arrived that I'd show up, and I've done that since I've been here. And I will give you an update, and I will keep you updated, and I will continue to do that. If you need to come and sit with us, Mr. Kemp, just to help your constituents understand, you know that you're welcome to do that. You have my contact number, and you know how to reach me. Our doors are open. We have nothing to hide. That is the same that's true for any council member, be it the city of Hardeeville, be it the city of Ridgeland, be it this county. Call us up. I promise you, we'll sit with you. And if you hear stuff that just doesn't sound right, or you know it's not right, come and meet with us, because I think the thing that we're going to have to do to help our community is dispel the untruths that are out there. And the only way to do that is to give it the right information. And we can't do that by being silent. We have to do that by making sure that we have these types of meetings. And I'll show up, and I'll be here to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. I'll let my time go to the other councilman. Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have anything? Dr. Anderson, we thank you and your board members and your staff for coming to presenting this workshop. And I don't have any questions. I guess being an educator, I follow things through. And I've been following the transparencies and stuff. And like you said, some of our biggest problem is we don't understand. And I deeply feel anybody wanting a position on a board, on the school board especially, should be given some kind of evaluation, some kind of test to let us know you understand what you're doing. You have people handling our children money. And when the superintendent presents, they don't have a clue as to what she is saying. Some of us want to take the budget and go through each word. That's not our job. Not our job. Even on this council, Mr. Kemp would say, that's not our job. He'll go to A&D office or wherever you need to go to find out your answer. But when you got board members speaking and downing the superintendent, what do you expect? What do you expect? So we must do better as a board to get things done for these poor children in Jasper County. And like you said, Mr. Kemp, yes, some city did vote for the penny. That's where they couldn't get to tell them to vote no. They couldn't get there. But they take advantage of the other people, especially the ones who can't read and write. They take advantage of them. They tell them anything. But they didn't tell them if the penny tax failed, that you were going to have to pay through your taxes. That's the part they forgot to mention. And I was telling them that the whole time, didn't I, Chairman Green? I kept telling them that. I kept telling them that. But I guess they thought that I was illiterate and didn't know what I was talking about. But this county council is going to do everything in our power to support you and your board members in educating our children. We thank you for what you do. I've never seen buildings and the inside look so pretty in my life. I never thought I would see that. But I had one request. I have one request to put out to you. And I'm not going to call his name. He said, Granny, let them know you cannot vote for a school budget unless we get some batting cages. So let your, you know who it is.
No name, huh?
No name. Let your athletic director know baseball players want some batting cages. And we need to get some.
Yes,
But
ma'am.
if there not be anything else from this council, we're going to move on to the next part of our budget because we're going to get this budget passed and out of here. By what date, Mr. Kemp?
20th.
The 20th. Got to get it out of here. Let it go. And I also want to mention the state superintendent came down and she was bubbling all over. She was just fascinated by what she was seeing in the Cake Center. And she even asked to go over to the other side. She could not believe it because so many negative things has been going through to the state superintendent office until she shook her head and she said, I'll be back. But as I go to Columbia, I frequent her office because you know I'm always in Columbia. I got another year, what I got, a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it is. It ain't long now. So they'll be out campaigning, letting you all know not to vote for Barbara Clark because they simply don't like the way I look. I can't help that. So we thank you, and we're gonna go through the other stuff, and we're gonna be right behind you.
We have a 5 o'clock board meeting, so that's why we're leaving. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next school board meeting.
Yes. You know, the same on we met last month, and they meet the next month. And the next one is supposed to be ours, but we're not meeting on that because that's a holiday. Mr. Folger?
Madam Chair, I think Ms. Burgess has submitted some items to you. She wanted to review, I think, some items that have changed since the last time you've seen the budget, among other things. Is that fair enough?
That's fair
Come
enough.
right on up, come right on up, because I hope that some of the things I've been looking at
Would it be okay if I sit here so that I
Yeah,
can
that's
manipulate
valid.
it here? Operate? Can you hear me? Okay.
And
So-
by the way, before I forget, Councilman Garvey was struggling trying to get here. Took sick on the way. They had to turn him back. I don't know whether they took him home or whether they took him to the hospital. Chairman Sauls is not here because he's in Greece. And leave me here in little old Jasper Town. I wish I was in Greece. But anyway, go ahead on.
All right, so the spreadsheet that you have in front of you is was basically the budget balance as of actually it's the first reading, which was 51,606,507. We had some changes to some of the expenditures. I've listed them in detail, but the detention center, I've also summarized them to the right over here by department. So the detention center had some adjustments based on their cost of living increase and on the increase of some vehicle equipment lease payments. So that was $13,000. We did not have any travel and training, although we had intended to. I just don't think it got saved when the budget was done. So that was increased $5,000. Then in the coroner's department, that budget was decreased a total of $148,100. There was I called it a correction for duplicate entry because there was a line item for full-time salary and wages, of which there are no full-time personnel in that department. But the coroner had provided, with some of the state funds that he received, he increased his salary up to an amount of $50,000. So when that was put in there, it was actually should not have been that total amount. So that's been reduced completely. I did separate, for clarity purposes, the amount of the state stipend that he receives. That's $15,300. I reduced I took it out of the part-time line item because it is subject to go away basically when the state no longer funds it. It's not something that he will continue to get once the state decides to no longer fund that. As of Friday, they will continue to fund it, but I don't know at what dollar amount.
Excuse me, on that's a general, that $50 stipend is for the coroner's office, correct?
It was for it was basically, the coroner could do what he wanted to.
Now, just how does the mechanics of that work? I've often wondered about that, where they give a stipend and then, does he just say that he does that and tell you what it does?
So the way this worked, the last year was the first year that we received any of these type of stipends. So when we're informed that we get the stipend, he decided what he wanted to do with it, which was increase his salary. But a part of that is that the county is not responsible for his benefits. So if the county had increased his salary, we would have to pay retirement, we'd have to pay FICA, and because it was used with these state funds, we netted that amount, and he gets the net. So essentially, those state funds pay for the retirement and the FICA portion, and the county has no out-of-pocket for it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so there were some other adjustments. FICA was increased, $1,700, $1,300, just as a general review of that entire department. The police officer retirement increased some, telephone, all of those adjustments. One thing that I didn't adjust in here, but it's similar to the stipend, is he also, the other part of the funds, there was a small amount that was given as a sort of a bonus to his deputy coroners, and then the large part remaining was given as a automobile allowance for his vehicle. So as you can see, then the equipment, I went through it line by line, and I adjusted certain items. The equipment went 25,000. Marketing, development, all of these basically went back to the budget amount for this current fiscal year, because year-to-date amounts do not appear to actually support the increases that he asked for next year. So he asked for $15,000 in marketing, and he hasn't even spent $3,000 yet. So I took that back to the $5,000. The equipment, utilities, there was no, equipment, there was no explanation for what he needed, and he had not yet spent the $25,000. So those kind of adjustments happened. So the total was $148,100 decrease, which was the largest amount of the decrease or adjustments for the budget at all going forward.
Mr. Kim,
Yeah.
what was that we were looking at, and I asked you, did you know what it was? And I didn't know what it was. It was listed in the budget.
That was the,
Was it postmortems?
no,
No,
it was the,
I know what postmortems are.
let me see that.
And I
It
didn't.
was about not programs. Advertising. It was advertising.
For his
$30,000.
public relations or
Yeah,
in his line
$30,000
item?
for advertising.
So I think he has a, might be for the child death program, but he receives funds from the state for that as well. So that, like I said, that was one of those line items that he had increased to $15,000. He hasn't spent, he spent just a little over $3,000. So I took it back to the $5,000.
Well, you know, this is not it's just that we went through two of these readings, and we passed it. All of a sudden, what triggered this to go down?
Well, I started looking at it.
And just an additional to that, we have other places that do the same thing. We didn't decrease that. In fact, we increased some places.
Well, it depends upon.
Prime example is the litter. We put $30,000 into the litter last year. We used zero.
So, well, that was, we'll have a new person in that position. And in prior years, we actually spent that money and given it to the Keep Jasper Beautiful. This year, the new person, the new director, wanted to keep it in her budget because she was unfamiliar with what might actually come about, near year end, that she might need it. But in this particular case, there were some questions, we've had some questions internally within the finance department when we pay some of the bills for some of the expenditures, particularly postmortems.
Yes.
Excuse me, Mr. Kemp, maybe that was something that Ms. Burgess and I discussed, that this needed a closer look at the coroner's budget.
And I'm just trying to, we know we have this coroner thing. All I'm saying is we should really talk to the coroner and say, give him a chance to say, yes, this is what it is. He doesn't give a justification on any of this. I understand that. And I many times have gone to him and said, not many times, one or two, say, write it down, tell us what you want, right? So it doesn't change.
And I've reached out because in my instructions to everyone, I asked for explanations, I asked for detail, and I did not receive those.
But in this particular case, we had an issue of internal control that came about, we needed to address, and that made us go back and relook at the budget, right? We try to be respectful to the elected officials who submit a budget, and noticed the percentage increase was very large, and went through it to try to get it down to be more realistic and mainly based on his previous expenditures. So
I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying, I'm just trying to be,
I just wanted you to know how that particularly came about with his budget.
And I still have a question. I don't know if that was included in that or not, because I can have some, right? Is on transporting bodies. This year, we transported $171,000 in the budget. That's what we've already spent on taking bodies to Charleston.
wow.
And we don't understand how it works, because who are these people you're carrying? And also what made them started taking a closer look, Mr. Kemp, invoices and bodies were not matching. And you got to do what you gotta do.
I understand.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm
I
not saying
understand.
that. I'm just trying to say he's an elected official, and we should be cognizant of that, to give him a chance to say, we had a problem with the school board at the beginning because he was so long, we brought the school board back. That's all I'm saying.
Right, will he come back?
I don't know. But
Thank you.
all I'm saying is, we offered, and we said we did that. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm satisfied.
Yeah.
I'm satisfied.
But
That-
we have to find out how these bodies are matching with 177,000. We ain't that many people are dying in Jasper County, but I don't think we had that much. So Mr. Fulgham and the finance department, we have to find a way.
Isn't that a contract? Is that a contract?
That's part of the issue. That's one of the issues. We
Yeah,
do not
that's
have a
fine.
contract.
Is an ordinance that we have to have a contract for so much money?
There's no ordinance, but we just required, it's just good practice to have a contract for what we're paying for, and we've requested that from him, and so far we have not received that.
But isn't it up for bid? Wouldn't it be up for bid?
Not necessarily. It's the public officials, the elected officials' discretion, but he should have a contract for that service. We can't practice good internal controls without that.
I would like to add that as of June 7th, so the coroner's budget was, for fiscal year 23, was $392,251. His actual amount spent was $366,646 rounded. His requested budget was $704,500 for fiscal year 24, and he's now, with these changes, at $439,500. So he has increased. His budget has increased from last year, but not by the amount that he
Well,
obviously has.
the budget before all this taken out, it was $194,000 increase. I think it was $194,000.
His department request.
Whereas the
There
$194,000.
had been some changes to that department request, but a large part of those had remained the same. So it was $704,500.
So those are the things that we have concern on this council. We need to get a hold on it, because just like Mr. Kemp said, when people come to us, we want to be able to answer them. And right now, I can't justify $171,000 in post-mortem. And then this company that he is using, he's part of his funeral home. So that doesn't look good. That does not look good. So we need to find a way to, you all bring him in, let him know that you need a contract. We are not okaying anything else without a contract. And MSU needs to give us that this body was brought here, we kept them X number of hours. And because I don't recall, and it might be happening, that you take a body to the hospital and you wait for them to do the autopsy. And then you charge us 6 hours for that, and that comes to $1,050
per, it's $1,050 per transport.
Come on, John and I take turns. John take one body today, I'll take one tomorrow.
No, thank you.
Get the stamp for me. But that's where we are. And like I said, we come back. And if you have any questions, Mr. Kemp and Mr. Atkins, please call them or go by their office, because you're always around. You're always around. Go and talk to them. Because when we come in here Monday, we're coming to, what is it, a Thursday? On the 20th. Tuesday. You see? On a Tuesday.
I do have one. I think the original contract, we should look at considering that. Knock out the $240,000 that we would put for 3 extra people, just to give us time. We have 17 people we need. Why not give a breather to let's get those 17 people in? It was the will of the council, and the will of the council was anticipated. We anticipate. Well, things changed. Back then, we didn't think we were going to have that big of a problem. And all I'm saying is a relief. Another 2 years or whatever it is. And it appears that Richland wouldn't mind doing that.
Madam Chair, if I can,
Yes.
we are, the contract is in the budget.
Right, that's for this year.
Correct.
But I'm saying for next year.
Well, we're not at that budget.
Okay, what I'm trying to say is, we also have, right now, you have it spending out almost $500,000 in the budget for Richland. Because you have 2 people, you're hiring 3 lieutenants and 2 other people, 2 fire people in anticipation of the contract going.
That's right.
So are we gonna be able to have 17 people this next year?
You're budgeted for all those scenarios. But my suggestion is you have a contract, you have an intergovernmental agreement. The town of Richland was very alarmed at the budget workshop discussion last time. I had to calm all that down. They felt like you were backing up from the IGA that you'd approved. The IGA, both entities have approved.
I don't think I didn't get their alarm. I mean, I talked to them too.
I'd be happy to share the emails with you.
Then they got it wrong. All I was saying is, I wanted the anticipation out, trying to contract for more than extended contract.
And I think you have ample time to do that.
So why should we then we take the money out of there?
Because if the council decides not to go that way, we're prepared in both scenarios.
That's when we make the decision now that we want to do that, or not want to do that.
Well, I
And
think
we could take that money that we're going to use there and give it mill back as the chairman requested in the first place.
No, it was a half meal.
All I'm saying is, we have had problems for the last 2 years trying to get people in. Why burn the bridge?
They now have a full, by the way, they've hired all of their new positions that were in the budget for this year. They've hired them all.
I think Chief Wells mentioned that last time.
Yes.
They do not have the number of vacancies they had prior to. He's having good success with having those people and training them up. So that's a discussion, Madam Chair, you may want to talk about. The staff is budgeted appropriately in this budget based on what the county council and the town council adopted and asked us to do.
So we're going to have people in Tarboro, and we're going to have people in...
Mr. Kemp, I'd say that's a discussion you need to have with your colleagues. Are you going to bring that up or not?
We've already given money for grades. We've already given money,
They have
this
to be
contract,
trained.
for Tarboro. So you're saying now, by July 1st, or July, we're going to have those people?
well, I don't know if it'll be July, because they have to go through a certain amount of training, but those positions are now filled.
They are.
They are filled. That was, I was informed of that. I believe Mr. Fulton was too, not too long ago, just within the last week or so.
We, at staff, don't want to be arguing with the council. If the council wants to make a change, please do so.
No, I don't think.
Well, I'm not arguing with anybody, I'm just bringing it before the council, that's
We don't
all.
wanna go different. I've heard the same thing, before, but we don't wanna, mess with that, not at this point. Now, maybe we can start in March and look at some of the stuff that need to be looked at and go from there. But right now, I think we need to get through this budget. Let's get this stuff ready for Columbia and move it on down I-26, 95 I-26.
Just one more thing. Last budget workshop, I requested that $5,300 be taken out for planning for roads. No one else disagreed,
Taking out.
taking it out. He doesn't need to go to the Association of Counties. It's not
Oh,
our
you're
job.
talking about roads.
Right.
Well,
We took it out. Not one person on this council said anything against it. All of a sudden, it's still in there. When do I, we talk about it. If somebody would have said, no, that's not right, or they didn't disagree, nobody disagreed.
Madam Chair, we have that from time to time, as you know, plenty of experience on doing this. And when you have 5 different people approaching the budget from different angles, and when somebody says, I think we ought to do this, they believe it's done. It's magically done.
No,
You have
no,
to-
no.
you have to
I didn't
put
say that.
You have to put that stuff in the form of a motion if you want to take it out. You can adopt the budget with whatever you'd like in there. But in this particular case, I want to say this. This is a deputy county administrator equivalent position. Mr. Lucas is going to that conference this year, and Rose Dobson Elliott wants to go to that conference this
No,
year.
she's an engineer. She's not a deputy then.
But Mr. Kim,
Last time you said Lucas
Mr. Kim.
was it. Who's gonna be the deputy now?
Mr. Kim, how many people from Beaufort County go to the Association of Counties Conference? Do their engineers not go?
I wanna tell you something.
Everyone
here's
goes
the
to
way it
the
is.
Association of Counties.
Let's do
They
it
need
the
to
way
be
it is.
educated.
Bill, Beaufort County is $2.2 million. Maybe they can afford it, we can't.
Are you going to tell, is the council going to tell staff that they cannot get the required training through the Association of Counties? They can't go to the conference? If that's a position, take it, make a motion, remove all our training. That's fine.
Then why don't we?
That's the way you do that.
Then why didn't we do it on the coroner?
Do what?
We took money out of the budget on the coroner, nobody on the
Where's-
council said a word.
Mr. Kim, the staff presents a budget. You have to get your colleagues to agree on what you want to adopt. You can do that.
We did
You can
agree
accept
to it.
this, you cannot accept this.
We did agree to it, we agreed to it twice.
Then you can
There was
agree.
no discussion on this council.
Then you can agree to that again, or you can agree to the staff's newest recommendation. You can do whatever you want.
I guess you kind of agreed if no one disagreed.
I do not believe
We
that
know-
talking about
I'm not gonna
something
go any farther.
without
I got
disagreement
my point across.
is a
Yeah.
silent
I got my
approval.
point across.
yeah, so let's leave it there. And then Andy is Rose boss. He make the decision. If he want Rose at that conference, that is his decision.
Wait,
Now,
now, Chairman, you're saying that, yes, he makes the decision, we make the decision if we're gonna pay for it.
Yeah.
He can send her there anytime he wants.
But, are we gonna go against what the administrators say?
Yes, if we have to.
Yeah, but that's something mediocre there that you're dealing with Mr. Kemp about Rose not going. And I think she should go so she can see what's going on.
Then why did you say that in the last budget meeting?
Because I know you was gonna bring it back up.
No, you didn't.
Ooh, I know you. Come on.
Then why'd you let me bring it up? Why didn't you just say no? That's all I'm saying.
All right, well now I know what you searching for.
That's all. I'm bringing up a suggestion, just
Yeah.
like anything else.
Yeah.
It's the part of the council the council, I'm on 20%. I bring it up, I expect somebody to say, no, do it, I don't care. That's what your job is, my job is.
I got you, Mr. Kemp. You're good. At this time, I'm gonna call for a motion to adjourn.
So,
Second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And let's get out of here.